Today we have a candidate who represents a new generation of leadership for our country, District Attorney Sean Duffy.
I want to thank all of you for coming out today. I know it's a hot Wednesday afternoon, 1:30. There's a lot of places that you could be, but that you're here for this announcement means so much to me. Thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate it. Before we get started, I want to take a moment and quickly introduce you to my family for those who don't know. I have 5 children. My oldest is right here, Evita, she's 9. And then my oldest, round of applause for Evita, yes. My oldest son is Jack, he's 7. And then we have little Lucia Belen, she's 5, and she's going into kindergarten this fall, which is very exciting for her. And then this little guy here with the sign is John Paul, he's almost 3. And then this is our baby Paloma, who just started to walk this last week, so there's big news in the Duffy household. I want to also introduce you to my beautiful wife and my best friend Rachel. And quite honestly, I wouldn't be here today without her love and support. So I appreciate that, honey. Thank you very much. To have all of you here at Lumberjack Bowl is so meaningful for me because this place is such a part of my past. You know, when I was 5 years old, I learned to log roll right across the bay here. And now my kids are learning to log roll right across the bay. I learned how to climb on these speed climbing trees here. I won my first world title on these trees over here. And actually I almost killed myself a couple times. I've done a ton of lumberjack shows here. I've run out so many times from this venue here. And to be here is great. But I also think it's fitting because this area, this region, it was pioneered by tough, hard-working lumberjacks. You know, people like my great-great-grandfather, Patrick Duffy, who was an original settler to this region. And my great-grandfather, who lived here in northern Wisconsin, but was also a sawyer. He worked in some of the lumberjack camps for part of that 30 years he worked here as a sawyer. You know, I was born and raised in Hayward, and like many of you, I've spent my whole life in northern Wisconsin. And now I'm raising my family in northern Wisconsin because I think there's no better place to raise a family than right here in the great state of Wisconsin. For the last 7 years, I've been the district attorney of Ashland County. And law enforcement is serious business. And I'm proud of my record as a prosecutor. And I'm proud of my jury trial success rate that stands at over 90%. But I'm most proud of my success of putting child sexual predators behind bars right where they belong. I believe it's important to keep Wisconsin safe because I believe in Wisconsin values and the Wisconsin way of life. In fact, it's Wisconsin values, ideas, and common sense that are needed now more than ever in Washington, D.C. With your help, I will bring our spirit and our work ethic to the halls of Congress. And so, today I'm announcing my candidacy for the U.S. House of Representatives. My life's greatest honor to represent all of you, the hard-working taxpayers and families of Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District. I'm running for Congress because I think it's time for new voices and new leaders in Washington, D.C. For over 200 years, our country prospered under the philosophy that it's the individual and not the government that is the engine to American prosperity. That small businesses and dedicated workers, not government agencies and bureaucrats, generate economic growth and wealth. But in response to this economic crisis, our representatives in Washington have put their faith, not in the American people, but in the government.
Boo.
Boo hiss is right. It's time. It's time to grow opportunity, not grow government. It's time for responsibility. It's time for a new congressman in Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District. Under the direction of politicians like David Obey, our government is doing things our founding fathers never intended for it to do. For the first time in our nation's history, the federal government is taking over private corporations like GM and AIG and putting bureaucrats in charge of business decisions. Our representatives in Washington, they think that they can print, spend, and borrow our way out of this crisis. But all they're doing is creating a greater crisis. They're mortgaging our future, and the future of our children, and the future of our grandchildren. And I think it's wrong to spend and borrow on the backs of the next generation. Last February, Congress voted to spend almost $800 billion of our money in a stimulus bill most of them didn't read. Now, and how could they? It was over 1,000 pages long and they had less than 24 hours to read it. But our congressman, he did read the bill. Not only did he read the bill, he wrote the bill. That's right, our Congressman Dave Obey is the proud author of that pork-filled stimulus legislation. Of course, Washington tells us that the stimulus and the bailouts and the budget increases are temporary emergency spending. That when the economy recovers, we're going to go on a financial diet. Well, I've never heard of a government agency that retired itself. Or a bureaucrat that says, well, I've accomplished my goal. Thank you, taxpayers. I'm packing up and going home. It doesn't happen. They won't shut their doors until we send representatives to Washington to do it for them. It's time to bring fiscal responsibility back to Washington. And that's only going to happen when hard-working people who know what it's like to balance their family budget, decide it's time for change. I'm one of those people. That's why I'm running for Congress, and that's why I ask for all of your support. Dave Obey, he tells us that he stands for Wisconsin values. And Obey tells us that he stands for Wisconsin common sense. The last time I checked, spending money we do not have is not a Wisconsin value. And borrowing money from China to fund earmarks is not Wisconsin common sense. Our 7th district, we deserve a fresh start, a new direction, and a congressman who will bring real Wisconsin values like hard work and personal responsibility to Washington, D.C., not the other way around. We deserve a congressman who will respect our hard-earned tax dollars, and a congressman who will never forget who he works for, which is you. I am committed to running a positive campaign that's focused on the issues and the solutions that matter to all of you, the hardworking families and taxpayers of Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District. I would ask you all to join in my campaign, and together we can pass on to the next generation an America that is prosperous, safe, and free. Thank you all for coming. God bless you all.